Hi, I'm Jessica Stutzman from Millcreek Township.
And I'm Chantel Rodriguez. Welcome to the Millcreek Government Channel.
Today we're joined by Matt Waldinger, our Director of Planning and Development, to talk about Millcreek's vision for smart growth, land use, and long-term sustainability. Matt, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to have you up to our studio, and we have so much to talk about. And, you know, the big thing, big picture, let's start with an overview of the Presque Isle Gateway District Plan and what progress has been made so far toward its implementation.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. The Gateway District Plan was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 2022. It was a specific area plan just for the Gateway District that was called for in our comprehensive plan. And it outlined a way that we could work within the district specifically. It's a lot more detailed than a plan for the whole township. And so since it's been adopted, we've done quite a bit. I think the heaviest lift was updating our zoning code to allow for the kinds of uses and the kinds of design that we want to see in the Gateway District, which is a mixed-use district combining commercial uses with residential. Oftentimes, in the same building, you'd have a first floor, say a restaurant or a shop, and then second and third floors, you could have apartments above them. And it builds in a customer base for the businesses that are there. It also provides very walkable area, and that was our vision for what we'd like to see 8th Street morph into.
And the comprehensive plan is Embrace Millcreek?
Correct.
And when was that completed?
That was adopted in 2018. So it, seems like it was just yesterday, but it's 8 years ago now, and we're going to start thinking about updating it for its 10th. After every 10 years, we do an update, and so we'll be kicking that off fairly soon.
Mm-hmm. And all of these plans that you've done are not plans that just sit on the shelf. You are actively using them and moving forward with progress in Millcreek.
Yes. And so we specifically called out when we started the comprehensive plan and then again with the Gateway District Plan that they not only had the planning information, but they also had an implementation plan. Like here's, it gives you your goals and the things you should be trying to achieve, but then lays out the steps in order to get there. And it's a relatively new way in the planning world to look at these types of plans. They used to just be, big books of facts and figures, and they were really actually kind of boring to read. But these implementable comprehensive plans, as they call them, really give you action items and help you achieve your goals because there's no question about what you should do. It's listed there, and it's just like a checkbox. You just keep working your way down.
Yeah, and that you've done.
We've tried.
So, and one of the key components of the plan is the transformation of the properties near the corner of West 8th and Peninsula Drive. What steps are currently underway to prepare those sites for development?
Well, if anybody has been down in that area recently, I'm sure they've seen the work that's been taking place. Last year, we removed 3 of the buildings that were purchased by the Millcreek General Authority. That was the Joe Roots, the Sandbar, and the Manor Motel. This year, that project entailed the removal of the final 2 buildings, which were the Grasshopper and the Bel Air Motel Complex. And so as of the day of this taping, the Bel Air is probably about 95% done. There's just a few walls standing. By the end of the month of May 2025, they will have everything down. They'll have the site graded and seeded. So that is, a big step to have those sites clear and ready for future development. The other huge step that has happened so far this year is that we've gone out for a request for qualifications for developers to come in. And what we're looking to do is find a pool of developers that will be able to pull off our vision in the corridor.
So, Matt, since the General Authority recently released the request for qualifications, the RFQ for developers, what are the goals for the RFQ process and what kind of interest have you seen so far?
So the interest has been very good. We've had some larger local developers put in, requests or have statements of their interest to respond to our request. We've had some national developers. And so what our goal will be going through this process is we have laid out some criteria that the developers have to give us information on. It basically has to do with, do you have the experience in doing this kind of development in the past? If so, please show us where you've done it. Do you have the financial wherewithal? Because this will be probably close to $100 million investment in that corner. And we want to make sure that whoever is selected has the ability and access to capital to pull off a project like this. And then, do you understand the Gateway to Presque Isle plan? We've sent everybody a copy of the plan and a copy of the Embrace Millcreek plan to make sure that they know what our goals are for that corridor and are prepared to follow through.
Mm-hmm. And it's, you guys, everybody I think has a wonderful vision for the future, and you're providing this blank slate. And, hopefully the developers have, grandiose visions too, because the Presque Isle State Park gets 4 million visitors every single year. So this is a large undertaking, and it's going to transform Millcreek for many, many years to come.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, like how we spoke with Dave Zimmer earlier, just the vision that I myself had for my family, growing up in Erie, I did not want to be stuck in Erie. And now that mentality has definitely shifted, living in other places and coming back home. I want to live in Erie and Millcreek and be here, but I also want to see progress as well. So I want the things that Colorado has or that Florida has, and I want to be able to have that here at home too. So I think it's a great idea and great project.
And just to jump off that, yes, we are looking for developers that have vision, and we have left it as a blank slate. We had we wanted to prove to developers that it could actually work. It could actually, what they call, the word they use is pencil, which just means that they go through all the math and all of the finances, and they come out at the other end making money. So we did show just some concept drawings that show that, it could potentially pencil out, but they are free to do what they want within the guide rails that we have in the zoning code in our plan.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
The West 8th Street corridor has been a central focus in the revitalization strategy. What improvements are planned in the near future?
Initially heard in Embrace Millcreek, and then further refined in the Gateway plan, that Millcreek doesn't really have a main street, someplace that you feel like, for lack of a better term, like downtown Millcreek.
Yeah.
And we felt from the momentum that we got and the input that we got from all of the business owners on West 8th, that would be the ideal place to have some place that you thought of when you thought of, downtown Millcreek. There's a lot of locally owned small businesses on that corridor. And so we're working towards, bringing that vision to life and making West 8th Street that downtown kind of neighborhood Millcreek feel. And so what's happening right now, in March of this year, the township hired an engineering firm. Their name is Verdantis, but they do have a local component. They have a local office. They purchased Welkus Surveying and Engineering. So they are folks that are from Erie and know the area. They are in the process now of surveying the corridor, and will be working with us in the near future to come up with the design plans for roadway improvements, as well as sidewalks, street lights, street trees along West 8th Street from Pittsburgh to Peninsula Drive. And so this year is going to be spent doing those designs and that engineering and talking to the business owners all along and property owners all along that corridor to get a design that will work. And then hopefully in 2026 will be a construction year where all of those improvements will be done.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and walkability is so important. I know, and especially in mixed use, that I definitely want to be able to spend time shopping and then going out to dinner and then maybe walking down to Presque Isle, and and then if you live in those neighborhoods, you don't even have to drive to get there. That's an easy way for everyone to get around. So walkability is huge and important. I think also I've done so many studies on street trees, how that can reduce your stress level, reduce, the heat index of the cement. It can actually make shoppers spend more money and invest, their dollars at our local shops and businesses. So I think all of that is fantastic. So, and then again, speaking of walkability, the sidewalk piece is critical to your project. Do you want to talk about the grant that the township received for the sidewalk installation on West 6th Street, and then the scope of the project and the timeline?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we're really excited for this. The township applied for a grant from what's known as the Local Services Account, which is actually statewide gaming funds that the township is eligible for. because there's a casino in Erie County gets gaming funds, and some of those are distributed. But then the funds that go to the state from the taxes that the state collects, they open up a grant fund for any municipality in the state to apply for. And so we applied for those funds. I think the greatest benefit of those funds is that grant grant program does not require a local match. So it can fund any projects at 100%.
Wow, that's
And
incredible.
it is. Yeah, it really is. And it's very rare. So it's good funding to go after. So we made a decision to try and target that funding to install sidewalks along West 6th Street, because West 6th Street is a very residential area. There are a lot of residents that live both north and south, between the 8th and 6th, and then north all the way to the Bayfront, as well as being adjacent to the Frontier Park neighborhood, and which already has sidewalks. The city of Erie has a very extensive network. And so we targeted that for a grant application. In order to do the sidewalks on both sides from Pittsburgh to Peninsula, the grant application ask was in the neighborhood of just over $900,000. We were awarded a grant. It was for less than we had asked for. It was for about a third. So we got the grant for $331,000. So rather than being able to do everything all at once, we are phasing it. So this year we will be doing construction of sidewalk on West 6th Street, starting at Pittsburgh Avenue and heading west, both north and south. On the south side, it'll take us up as far as Indiana Drive, and then it will stop there. But on the north side, just past Indiana Drive, there's existing sidewalk in front of the Northgate subdivision, and then in front of Tracy School that goes all the way to Scott Park. And so we will make that connection there, that missing piece. And so on the north side, you will have sidewalk from the City of Erie line all the way to Scott Park. And then, as I mentioned, if you want to go the other way and you want to go in the city, you could walk to Frontier Park. Frontier connects to the Bayfront Parkway and the trails along there. So it really kind of opens up those neighborhoods to safe, access to sidewalks and places to go.
That's incredible. Park to park.
Yep,
Yeah, I was just
exactly.
gonna say.
Well, yep. And, we have Scott Park and Avalon Park on that north side. Tracy Elementary School is on that north side. And then also further down, and not in this phase, is St. Jude Elementary School. So it really is valuable to have those sidewalks and safe places for people to walk to all of these amenities.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
how will these improvements impact, residents, businesses, and even visitors that are coming into the Presque Isle area?
Sure. Well, I think we see a lot of benefits for all of those. Obviously, we want to focus on the residents. They are the people that live here year round and will be the ones that will patronize these businesses and use these facilities, 365 days a year. So we want to make sure that all the improvements have residents in mind. And so some of these connections, these safety improvements, these sidewalks, future bike lanes, all of that is there for our current residents to have better access to the shopping areas, to even, amenities within their own neighborhood, as well as Presque Isle State Park. But then also there is obviously a large tourist component with the Presque Isle State Park being, hosted mainly by Millcreek Township. It's the only way a vehicle can get to the park is to go through Millcreek. And so because of that, a lot of traffic and a lot of visitors go through that area of the township. And so we want to make that area attractive for them and give them the amenities that they're looking for, so they don't just, come off of I-90 and rush through Millcreek, go to the park, and then get out as fast as possible. We want to draw them in. We want to draw them down West 8th Street because there are so many local small businesses down there. Great places for them to patronize. It would, that in itself would benefit residents and business owners, just the increased traffic and visitorship. So we're trying to have something for everyone. And, we want this to be a vibrant space 12 months out of the year. It's not going to be somewhere that's, comes alive in May and then dies in September and is vacant. This would be an area that the residents will want to be in year round.
Yeah, a community hub, that sense of that feeling of belonging, where we've talked about before, having, that third space, you have your home, you have your school, you have your work, and then, where else do you congregate with other people?
Right.
So, and hopefully in these areas that we're building. So the other thing is that I want to touch on is the Peninsula Drive Trail. It's another important part of the project that's in the works, and it will connect the community to Presque Isle State Park. What's the status of that
Yeah.
initiative?
We are still working to move forward with that. Unfortunately, this was an area where we were so lucky to get a grant. And then with COVID and certain things that happened, costs kind of spiraled out of control. And so since then, we've been working to do the best that we can with the money that we have. I'd love to sit here and tell you, oh, the trail is all set to go. We're ready to put it in. But unfortunately, the costs have just gotten so high that the township can no longer do the entire project it envisioned with the amount of money that it received. And so we're looking now and working with our funding partner, DCED, to do a scaled down version, extend the trail out through the Sarah's area all the way up to the base of the hill. At least allow people, if you are out on the peninsula walking on the path or riding a bike or rollerblading, you could continue to rollerblade into Sarah's. You could get something to eat. You could have an ice cream cone. You could visit Beach Zero or some of the other restaurants that are down there, all without moving your car, make that connection. And then we've been working with our state legislators and the departments of DCED, DCNR, PennDOT to try and find additional funding to bridge that gap to get the trail all the way up past the curve and into the township itself, so that once we finish off these walkability amenities that we were talking about on 6th Street and 8th Street, they will hopefully connect to a trail that you can then continue on down and all the way around the peninsula without having to use a vehicle. You'll be safe. You'll be comfortable. Right now, I know bicyclists do travel that hill down there, but they're braver cyclists than I am.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a lot of guts to do that.
Yeah, I always get scared when I'm, driving down there and I see a bike. Like, I will literally go 5 miles per hour,
Right.
just, to keep them safe. And I know I probably shouldn't go down to 5 miles per hour, but it's definitely for safety. And I think a lot of people are excited for that.
Yes.
The opportunity to have that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we love, spending our time, at Sarah's and the restaurants and whatnot. And that parking lot gets so full. If we can drive in by bicycle instead, that would really help us all out. So, but yeah, it's such a wonderful place to be. And, just really makes our community so special that we have, this state park right in our backyard, and we can take care of it and get everybody access, safe access to it. So that's so important.
And, I mentioned the grants that we have received, and I just want to, make a special thank you to our legislators, Representative Bizzaro, Senator Laughlin, various governors, including Governor Shapiro, have been very supportive of the whole Gateway District and everything we're trying to do. Like you mentioned, it's so great. We're so lucky that we have Presque Isle State Park at our doorstep. But that also, I think, comes with a responsibility for us to nurture it and take care of it. The state does a great job with the property that they own, and we need to help set the stage. And when they're successful, then Millcreek Township is successful. And they've been great partners with us, and we hope to continue to partner with them.
So true.
Yeah, it's an elevation of the area too. And I know as a resident myself, a homeowner, and having a family, I want to see those changes. I want to be a part of those changes and be in the community as much as I can. Like, I don't want to go somewhere else. I want to be right here in my backyard.
Yeah, you go to a lot of places on vacation. You're like, oh, how great would it be to live here? We want to turn this into that. You want to be proud that you live in an area with so many amenities and near such a rare natural resource.
Yeah, and I mean, we're getting down to the wire here with our show, but finally, what excites you most about the future of Presque Isle Gateway District, and what should the community be looking forward to in the next year or two?
Sure. So I will say, starting this year, when we were doing our final preparation on the sites and then releasing the RFQ, in my mind, I was really excited at this point. I think we are at a key turning point. Everything up to this point has been sort of assembling things and doing some of the hard grunt work in order to get to the point where we can then move forward. We had to do a bunch of preparation before we can take that next step. And we are right on the cusp of that step now. Through the RFQ process, we will hopefully by the end of this year have a developer who has a vision for that corridor that we can share and then start working with them to start construction and development. And so I know the last few years there have been some issues and there's been some contention about what the township's done, but we're at the point now where that investment's going to start paying off, not only at those sites, but with the improvements to West 8th Street, the improvements to West 6th Street, I really think we're at a key point where everything's going to start coming together and there's going to be real visible progress down there.
So excited.
I'm excited too. And Matt, and I just want to thank you for all the, time and energy and effort, blood, sweat, and tears that you have put in from, again, from the very, very start of the Embrace Millcreek plan to, the Presque Isle Gateway plan, and then to current day. It's a massive, massive undertaking, and you've just put so much of your heart and soul into it. So thank you for producing something for all Millcreek Township residents that is going to pay off and be beautiful, as this all unfolds and comes to fruition.
Well, thank you so much for saying so, but it truly is a team effort. I have a great department, as well as all of the rest of the departments in the township. We all work together. Something like this is a huge undertaking that involves everybody, and they've all done a great job. And it also, thank you to the residents. These plans weren't just created by us. They came through resident input, stakeholder input. And so it really is the vision of those meetings and input that we received that became Embrace Millcreek and then the Gateway plan. And so we're just happy that we have such engaged residents that are looking to advance, and we're hoping to bring that home for them and deliver on their requests.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people excited about the project. So wonderful.
Great. Thank you.
Matt, thank you for coming on the show today, explaining how this whole process has worked and unfolded for us and what the future looks like. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Viewers, I want to thank you for listening to our conversation with Millcreek's Planning Department. Please visit millcreektownship.com for new updates on developments and projects. We're excited to continue building a stronger township together. Have a great day, and thank you for watching the Millcreek Government Channel.